Hey everyone, Michael here. Thanks for taking the time to stop in and watch my video on the Archangel 15. Today I want to delve into a topic that I wanted to do for a while, how to live an austere lifestyle and basically beat the system. I want to start off with a disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor or money manager. This is not intended to be for any financial advice or financial decisions. Please do your own due diligence and consider this for education and entertainment purposes only. That being said, I hope everyone is doing well here around the holidays. If you have watched my past presentations, you would know that I'm not an overall fan of the system that's in place here in America. I'm not trying to get real controversial with people, this and that, but for the record, I am basically looking to go other places in my overall sojourn through life. There's a lot of countries out there who actually don't have the serious debt like we have, and way better sound economic fundamentals, and a populace that's not intentionally divided amongst itself. Basically, if you're a Freemason, you may not want to watch this. The powers that be, the elites, the globalists, have your whole entire life planned out on a continuum of sorts. Literally, I call this from cradle to grave. They have every single way to use you, abuse you, and lose you figured out before you're even born. The rich silver spoons and their kids have enough money to perpetuate their wealth, but they rely on a weaker class, basically the bourgeoisie, putting their money aimlessly in a 401k to buy goods and services, send your kids to college, buy stuff that you don't need, use revolving consumer credit, get married, have a mortgage, buy a new car every 5 to 7 years, Christmas presents. You get the point. There's essentially two contrarian views to viewing humanity and like our human purpose in life. One is, which I believe that the elites follow, is like basically that we're supposed to be free, be able to travel where we want, enjoy the spoils of the earth, have sex, listen, play music, drink wine, frolic, and live life without worries. And then there's this other notion of the republic, where everybody has a defined role, and as Plato would say, each will do what they do best for the sake of the rest. And you know, basically everybody has their little place and niche. I don't really agree or disagree with either one of these scenarios. I think there's probably a happy medium that can be had in between, but I see over the course of time how we're becoming human doings instead of human beings, and it's kind of scary. I just don't know where we go 5 to 10 years from now. I see this major two-class system emerging. It's getting out of control. Side note on Christmas. Nowhere in the Bible does it mention anything about Christmas. Nowhere does it say that Christ was born on this day. It was essentially a pagan holiday that was invented by the Cathars. It is used to perpetuate capitalism and consumerism. I don't want to get off topic on this, so I want to keep to the point as much as possible. The ultimate goal here is to keep more money in your pocket and out of the others. First and foremost, do as much stuff that you can for yourself as possible, starting with money management. Years ago, I used to give a lot of credence and respect to professionals like doctors, lawyers, and money managers, and so forth. Most of these people are scam artists that prey on weak and naive people, particularly like the mutual funds. I think these people are the scum of the earth. They get away with murder, they manipulate the whole entire system and throw you a crumb or two every now and again, and it's really sad, to be honest with you. And I can assure you that the people that are controlling this, they don't let their money sit and ride down a serious red tide market. I had a defining moment in my life when I monitored equities markets for several years. It changed my view on humanity and people, for that matter. It basically showed me who pulls the strings and why certain people never get off the ground to begin with. The rich and savvy people, elites, basically play things both ways. They never really lose. They have separate brokerage accounts. You know, they have their long-term investments, but they also, you know, open up short positions, and they really can't. Like I said, that they have everything down to a science, and they're not worrying about money. That's for sure. I'm not saying that putting your money just in a bank account is the answer either. That a typical 2% a year, 2% a year inflation. It will eat you alive with earning crumbs in bank accounts. You need to understand basic economic principles like rule of 7 and how debt amortization works. I can't emphasize the importance of using good money management skills, not just in your investments, but also in your day-to-day life. I want to mention a quote by Ben Franklin. Beware of small expenses. Small leaks sink great ships. I'm not a huge fan of Ben Franklin. I personally believe and almost know that he did not invent half the stuff that they say he did. A lot of it was invented years and thousands of years before by the Chinese and other lost civilizations. To some extent, we are all guilty of, letting money slip away out of our hands. I like to try to do everything I can myself, and it's especially good to do this around your house. There's a lot of great resources on the internet where you can pretty much learn to do anything that you want to do. If you live in a city, try to avoid taxis and Uber. Walk, ride a bike, mass commute, carpool, whatever. This also will help you stay in good physical shape, which is very, very important, taking care of your body. I can't emphasize that enough. Use a lot of home remedies, natural cures, holistic medicine, Eastern medicine, and so forth. Stuff that's deeply suppressed. I have a separate presentation on that. Definitely take care of your teeth. It's one way they will eat into your disposable income and do other bad things to you that they've been doing with basic eugenics programs for years. Eating out and going to the bar, another way to eat up your money real fast. Try to learn to cook at home. And me personally, I try to shop when stuff's on sale. And like the other day, I bought some vegetables, canned vegetables for non-GMO for like 37 cents each. Stocked up on those. It's always good to have extra stuff as well. I get like peanuts, like $2-3, and you can eat that like 2-3 days a week, and it's wholesome, a lot of protein. Good woman, they'll eat up your money as well if you're a man. I'm not trying to be derogatory towards women, but a lot of girls out there will play you for a fool. All they want is somebody that's going to take them out, take them on vacation, buy them things, and basically allow them to post stuff on Facebook and make them look cool in their friends' eyes. I had a Muslim girlfriend for about 9-10 months, and it really changed my way of thinking, just on a cultural perspective. It's just so much more pure and more caring and empathetic and so forth. There's also other good women out there, but I think it's starting to become a trend where a lot of men are just being turned off by American girls. We all love animals, but you need to understand the long-term financial responsibility with this, with taking on this commitment. The same goes for kids. Kids are basically a serious undertaking, and you do not want to have kids unless you have a good situation. You typically want to be married and have a place for them, and have everything planned out before you even go that route when you're at that point in your life. Don't waste your money on sporting events. Almost all these people are Illuminati plants and puppets, part of a broader agenda. They have enough money that they should not need to skim money from the working class people. Years ago, sports stars used to have regular jobs, and it was a lot more pure and wholesome. I personally, I like college sports a little bit more than professional sports, and even like high school sports. There's a lot more a purity to it. Try to avoid debt like the plague. I can't emphasize this enough. If it's a serious problem to be in debt and have your money basically spent before you get it, and interest accruing and so forth. If you are in debt, you definitely want to pay off your biggest balances first. I'm not going to get into a Dave Ramsey spiel here, but if you have problems with credit card spending, you should just cut them up and eliminate the problem, get rid of them. If you don't have the money, don't spend it. Get out of the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. Don't buy stuff that you think is going to appeal to others and make you look cool in their eyes. Don't even get me started on taxes. Taxes will eat you alive. Over the course of time, they can just go up and up and up and destroy you. You want to find a property that suits your needs and your family's needs, and preferably something that can sustain you, like have a garden, something that has like more, I guess, potential than some of these places. I mean, a lot of houses out there are garbage. They're made with like repurposed, not repurposed materials, but like very cheaply made. And if you shop around, usually you can find something that's better than manufactured housing. When you buy a vehicle, you want to buy something that's slightly used, typically, rather than buying new. Like 1, 2, 3 years old, low miles is usually the way to go. You basically accrue a lot less of a depreciation expense from the initial purchase of the new vehicle, and you can still find a lot of good stuff out there. The Japanese stuff is usually the best. American stuff has come a long way in recent years. If you know me and watch my past stuff, you know that I absolutely hate Tesla and consider them to be one of the biggest consumerism scams of all time, and basically a disgrace to this great man who had better ideas than any company exudes in the 1930s than they have now in almost 2020 here. And someday I would love to pursue my ideas. I really believe that I could find a way to convert pre-existing vehicles over to free energy that would basically run forever, no fuel, and it would have like 10 to 20 working parts that anybody could fix themselves if they did break down, which this obviously wouldn't bode too well in the eyes of consumerism and the globalists, and I'll probably never get off the ground with this idea. Many other ideas I have as well. Someday in the future I'd like to do parlay this into a free energy presentation, but I have others that I want to work on as well. I don't have a car, and I try to ride my bike, mass commute, and walk, wherever I need to go. I do have a gas bike. This is also kind of fits into the suppression of science. It has a 50cc two-stroke motor, which two-stroke motors are also very, very suppressed. They really give them a bad name, and it's really a disgrace. It's like they make you think that like a little chainsaw is going to really just pollute the earth, when like it really comes down to basic consumption of fuel, in my opinion. And there was this bike years ago called the Whizzer. It was like a moped. Those who were around in the 70s and 80s knew about the mopeds, and you don't see them anymore for obvious reasons. But you don't need a license, you don't need registration, you don't need insurance, at least here in Pennsylvania. They get like 50 to 100 miles to the gallon, and like I said, it has pedals for a fail-safe, and they're absolutely fun as hell to ride too. I've rode dirt bikes, motorcycles, four-wheelers, and by far I enjoy the gas bike the best. Definitely want to negotiate everything that you possibly can on your own. Realtors, I really can't stand. I have a major disdain for them. In many cases, they're absolutely useless. I've actually sold a property recently here in the past for my sister, and it's really not that hard. If I can do it, you can as well. Basically, with the advent of the internet, the realtors lost a lot of their usefulness. People pretty much look at the pictures and know beforehand if they're interested in the property or not, and there are certain situations where they can protect the seller's interest and even the buyer's interest as well. But I would recommend that you think twice about doing that if you can. You want to be smart about when you buy big ticket items. For instance, if you have like a nice coat that you want to buy, see, is it cheaper to buy this in the summertime? Sometimes we get caught up and we want things like here now, but just be intelligent about when you buy properties, cars, everything's kind of like this as well. Also, buying stuff in bulk and buying on sale is very self-explanatory. A lot of this stuff in this presentation very self-explanatory. It doesn't take a genius to figure out. Especially stuff that you're going to need. It's worth buying in bulk. Consumer items, food, groceries, so forth. If you're really savvy, you learn how to basically play currencies. I'm not talking about trading Forex, but learn how like currency pairings work, and the elites do this all the time. And basically, if they want to buy certain things, sometimes they'll go to another country and find it cheaper, and it helps for when you go on vacation, and basically lets you utilize more of your income or your saved money. Plus, if you go to other countries, you can also help countries out who are struggling. If you live in an apartment, try to see if you can have numerous people living in the dwelling. There's obviously implications of this. Certain people are very difficult to live with, but another way to kind of beat the system, if you do that as well. You need to understand that the university system is a scam. Basically, it's just an evil scam that you start out after you graduate and you're $60,000 to at least $200,000 in debt, and you have to go to school to get a good job and play the little game. And in my opinion, a lot of these degrees are absolutely worthless, and a lot of the programs are basically a reason for older professors to feel useful. And there's really only three things that they can actually garnish your wages for. One is child support, which I talked about. Taxes, number 2, which I kind of covered as well. And 3, student loans. Many degrees in 5 to 10 years from now are going to be absolutely worthless. I hate to sound pessimistic on this for younger people, but if you have a job that can be done by robots, you're probably not going to have a job or a place in society in 5 to 10 years. It's just a sad truth. Charities, another major issue there. I think a lot of them are scams. I believe that they're designed to suck money out of what's left of the middle class. People like to put money in the Billy Big Shit charity fund. It makes them feel big and important. And Trump played into this with this whole show and everything. I think a lot of some of those charities actually have been criticized for being fraudulent or people skimming money off the top, and it's not uncommon in all the charities. You really don't know who runs them and who's doing what with the money. If you want to donate, say, to a veteran or something like that, go give him a jacket or go give him some money, one that you see, if you can. I personally do not support our veterans. I would rather give my money to support anti-Zionist truth, and I'm not saying I don't feel bad for them or I don't overall support them, but I see through a lot of the lies. And the battleground, ladies and gentlemen, is right here, right now in America. If we don't all stand up and fight for truth and fight for our basic freedoms, we're not going to have a dignified way of life in 5 to 10 years from now. It's going to be bad, and I can't emphasize this enough. And wars, fake, phony wars are not the answers. All these fake companies are not the answers, and they've just basically put our country into trillions of dollars of debt and allowed other countries to own us through this debt. Ultimately, like I said, learn to do more with less. You'll find yourself happier, and it's basically it's more of a sustainable way of living, and you'll find your life less complicated and probably, like I said, happier. Try to buy local and made in America when you can, which is extremely hard to do anymore. Like I said in the beginning, the elites and the globalists rely on you keeping the money flowing and perpetuating the consumerism trap. And if you can break this, then we can start winning and stop allowing them to manipulate us. Once you have wealth, it's important to learn how to maintain it as well. For me, someday, if I ever could amass $1 or $2 million, I'd love to go live on a boat and live a very austere life that way, and always be somewhere where it's nice and warm, or travel to I don't want to say impoverished, but suppressed countries, and you could basically just constantly go from one country to another and play the currencies and have a very, very good life, and probably find a lot of opportunity there as well, as I really believe America has peaked a long time ago. Don't buy the propagation of lies and the propaganda. You need to keep yourself psychologically strong so that don't let them manipulate you or victimize you. Break the chains of this vicious cycle and understand that these people do not give a damn about you or your families. They are all tied at the hip to corporate cronyism, and I do believe that the Freemasons started with somewhat humble beginnings. What they do, a lot of it is deciding what park benches and what trees they're going to plant in the promenade, and little things like that. But I really believe that they've been basically taking part in broad-based eugenics programs for years, and that like their whole sole purpose at this point is to make sure nobody gets too big except for them and their kids. And the Slavic race is a perfect example of this suppression. There's many other races. You go to like New Jersey and look at the beachfront real estate and look at the people who own it, and you know, the Slavic people are like basically suppressed as much, if not more, than the African Americans in this country. And you know, it's very disheartening after a while once you realize the agendas that exist. I hope that someday each and every town in this community is able to break the chains from these waspy old fucks and take back our democracy. Like I said, one town at a time. If you're still listening, I appreciate your time. Thank you, and God bless.